What are contingencies? A contingency is when a buyer has made an offer on a home and the seller has accepted it, but the finalized sale is contingent on certain criteria being met. Hundreds of thousands of dollars are at stake, and so outs and contingencies were created to protect the buyer. There's lots of aspects involved: the condition of the home, how the property can be used, whether anyone else has a claim on it, or even whether the buyer or property qualify for financing. There's 40 buyer outs in the Texas real estate contract, but only 3 for the seller. The option period is negotiable, but often a 5 to 10 day period when the buyer can back out at any time for any reason and get their earnest money back, typically 1% of the purchase price. Even if they get cold feet, it doesn't matter. It's typically when the buyer does their inspection, due diligence, and negotiates things like repairs. It's why we all get excited about going to pending, because closing is more certain. The option period is the most common contingency, but there's others. These criteria or contingencies typically fall under 4 major categories: appraisal, loan approval, the option period, reports, and disclosures. The buyer has the time to do their due diligence in all of these areas. And in regards to those inspections, in our area, the typical ones are the home inspection, termite inspection, and if you have a septic or well, expect inspections to be done on that as well. The buyer may even want to have other inspections done, like mold, HVAC, soil, etc. It all depends on the condition of the home, what's customary to the area, or the buyer's preferences. They're the ones that pay for it. When something comes up, and I say when, because every house has something wrong with it, even brand new construction, the buyer has a choice to buy it anyway, back out, ask the seller to repair it, or ask for money to cover the cost of repairs. In regards to reports, these encompass full disclosure on both the inside and outside of anything and everything to do with the home. Watch the disclosure video to see what you should disclose. If the buyer doesn't receive the seller disclosure, they can even back out. There's also the title commitment, HOA docs, and other disclosures that the buyer has time to review during the contingency timeframes. For example, if the buyer is buying a home in an HOA, homeowner association, and wants to paint their house hot pink, or put plastic flamingos outside, run a home-based daycare, park their RV in the street, has a pet pig, whatever, and the HOA forbids it, once the buyer gets those HOA docs and reviews it, they can back out of the contract. The financing contingency: if the buyer is getting a loan and gets laid off from their job while under contract, they no longer have loan approval and can back out and get their earnest money back. The appraisal contingency: if the buyer fell in love with the house and offered over asking just to get it, or if the seller overpriced it, if they're getting a loan, the bank can and will ask for an appraisal to make sure they don't overpay for the house. The reason being, if the buyer stops paying the mortgage, the bank forecloses on them, and the bank ends up stuck with a house to resell. The me buying the house is contingent on selling my current house contingency. That's an offer unlikely to be accepted if you need to buy and sell at the same time and you already found your dream house you can't live without. There's strategies, loans, and programs to do so. Ask your realtor. The title policy contingency: the buyer can't get to closing without a clean title. The title company will search the property for any clouds on the title and work to clear it. In English, this means making sure no one has any claims to the property. This can be liens or debt the seller owes to somebody, secured by the property, and usually paid off at closing. Typically, like a mortgage, unpaid taxes, or even unpaid contractor work. Other things affecting title can be things like an ex-spouse that has a claim to the property. If the property is currently under contract with another buyer. There's an estate sale and there's unknown heirs that have a rightful claim to it. You don't want to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars or go into debt on a property only to have someone else take it away from you. The contingency timeframes are agreed upon in the initial contract and negotiable. In some cases, you can have no contingencies if the buyer wrote a really aggressive offer. In Texas, once you move your contingencies, your earnest money is at risk, so be sure not to remove them until you know you're okay with all aspects of the home and ready to move forward. You can ask for an extension if you need more time, but the seller would have to agree. Good news is, once all contingencies are removed, you have much more assurance the home will close. This is why having a knowledgeable realtor is so important. If everything goes smoothly, great. It may even seem like a do-it-yourself job if everything goes perfectly with a transaction. But there's always surprises, and you want someone in your corner representing your best interests that knows how to head off any problems before they arise and will guide you and fight for you, whether that's going to closing or protecting you from a costly mistake and getting your earnest money back, which is thousands of dollars. This is Kim Herrera, and open a new door in life.